All right, what is up? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. We've got another reaction coming to you today, courtesy of our boy Frizz. Once again, today Frizz wants me to react to hot sauce versus hot sauce. What hot sauce is the best? Let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's hear about these hot sauces, you know? Let's not waste any more time. Hope you guys enjoy.
People are eating more of it today than ever before, and I can't say I'm surprised about that. It is delicious. The estimates seem to vary quite a bit, but I can assure you that globally, hot sauce has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. It has been consistently growing for decades, especially in the United States, and is likely to continue growing, potentially at an even faster pace. For this video, I think it would be interesting to select 4 popular hot sauces and talk about their histories while making some notable comparisons. Now, I realize there are countless brands to choose from, but the ones that I ultimately decided to feature are Tabasco, Cholula, Frank's RedHot, and Sriracha from Hoi Fong Foods. I settled on those 4 because, in my opinion, they have some of the most significant stories that have done the most to impact and shape the hot sauce market into what we know it is today. Plus, as a bonus, they're some of the most requested hot sauce brands on my website, and according to Instacart, they have been consistently the most popular ones purchased through their service. I have a lot to cover here, so you may want to pour yourself a glass of milk and try to keep cool as we dive deep into the spicy world of hot sauces. Starting, of course, with the earliest of the group and potentially the most iconic, Tabasco. We have all tried Tabasco sauce, right? It dates back over 150 years and is commonly credited with launching the entire pepper sauce industry. Edmund McElhenney was living on Avery Island. It's a 2,300-acre island that is part of Louisiana. This isn't confirmed, but the legend says that he was gifted some pepper seeds from his friend that had brought them over from the Mexican state called Tabasco. That word, Tabasco, is believed to have been derived from a phrase meaning place where the soil is humid. It turns out Avery Island was also very humid, so the peppers grew very well there. Over many years, he experimented with making sauce from the peppers, but in 1868, following the Civil War, where food was infamously bland during the Reconstruction period, he figured that there would be a high demand for a flavorful sauce. He would make it carefully in a slow process that involved mashing freshly harvested peppers, adding special salt to the mix, aging it for a month in wooden barrels, adding special vinegar to it, then aging it another month. Once it was made, he then bottled it in glass perfume jars, sealed it with the signature green wax, labeled it as Tabasco sauce, and sold hundreds of them for $1 each to grocery stores along the Gulf Coast. I do want to point out that $1 was quite a bit of money back then, making Tabasco sauce somewhat of a luxury item. That high price was justified, in part at least, by the consistency of the product, considering that the meticulous process made each bottle of Tabasco very similar to the others. Today. Uncommon at the time, and especially appreciated if you're trying to use it in a recipe while cooking. The product was also helped by the fact that they were able to trademark the word Tabasco in the early 1900s, a controversial decision that has been challenged, but it still stands. Even though Tabasco sauce is named after a pepper that was named after an area of Mexico, they're the only company that can legally call their product Tabasco sauce, helping to separate them from everyone else. From what I can tell, many things have remained remarkably consistent to this day. They could go to the store with $1 and get like a bunch of candy. Similar ingredients in a similar process that does now involve years of aging in the barrels rather than months. Oh, and how about this? The McElhenney company is still privately owned and operated by the McElhenney family. The current CEO, Harold Osborne, is the great-great-grandson of the founder himself. The only real change that I would consider major is the fact that in the 1990s, they did begin to expand beyond that core Tabasco product. In 1991, they made their first ever acquisition that allowed them to market and sell products under a different name, and in 1993, they introduced a green sauce made with jalapeno peppers that has since been followed by launches of new Tabasco sauces every few years or so. Today, it is labeled in 36 different languages and dialects and sold in almost 200 countries and territories, and claims to be the most famous pepper sauce in the world.
It's literally sold like almost all around the world. That is actually kind of insane. I didn't realize it had such a long history.
doesn't seem to be as famous globally, but it was the most popular hot sauce purchased via Instacart in 2018. I would say that is very impressive, considering it's only available in 20 countries around the world and wasn't introduced in the United States until 1989, making it the latest introduction in the US of any of the sauces that I'm talking about today. The recipe for it originated in Mexico about 100 years ago, and the name Cholula actually comes from a city that is believed to be the oldest one that is still inhabited in all of North America, dating back 2,500 years. The sauce does have a specific flavor that is uniquely made from arbol and Pequin peppers, but the most distinctive thing about Cholula, to me anyway, is the wooden cap. It is made from beechwood that they say symbolizes the care and craftsmanship that goes into every bottle, plus each of the 6 flavors that are sold in North America have different color wooden caps. I guess making them collectible, but also easily distinguishable. The brand has changed ownership a few times, but the most significant change was in 2020 when it was sold to McCormick for $800 million. McCormick, as most of us likely know, has been traditionally a maker of spices and seasonings, but they have been recently diversifying into condiments, where clearly buying Cholula has been a big step in that plan. Frank's RedHot, yet another company with roots stemming back to over a century ago. The sauce is named after Jacob Frank, who in the late 1800s quit his job as a traveling salesman to start a company with his brothers, originally called the Frank Tea and Spice Company. In 1918, in a logical step to expand his spice company, he teamed up with a man named Adam Estiletti to open a plant in Louisiana where they processed cayenne peppers. They then used those peppers to create a hot sauce called Frank's RedHot that was first bottled and sold on the market 2 years later. Their big claim to fame here, and likely one of the biggest reasons behind their popularity, is that Frank's RedHot claims that they were the hot sauce used to create the first ever buffalo wings. See, buffalo wings were famously invented at the Anchor Bar and Grill in Buffalo, New York. The story goes that the owner was looking for something in the bar's kitchen to feed her son and his friends, so she took some chicken wings, added some melted butter, and some Frank's RedHots. As buffalo wings became more popular, Frank's RedHot was the sauce most associated with them, so it became more popular as well. In the 1990s, they introduced their signature buffalo wing sauce, and in 2009, they started this edgy campaign featuring an older woman named Ethel. One of the more famous commercials featured Ethel swearing in front of a woman that was depicted to be the queen.
Frank's RedHot sauce, Your Majesty. I put that on everything.
I do think that Queen Elizabeth II has actually been known to prefer Tabasco sauce. It was even given the royal seal of approval by the British monarchy. Now, much like Cholula, the Frank's RedHot brand has been bought and sold a few times over the years, but the most significant deal happened in 2017 when they were bought by McCormick. It was part of a bigger $4.2 billion deal that also included French's mustard. So just think about that for a second. The company that I'm sure almost all of us know for their spices is currently the owner of 2 of the biggest hot sauce brands in the country. Sriracha, specifically the one made by Hoi Fong Foods, with the rooster on the label and the iconic green cap. It is by far the most popular one, but I do have to specify that because the man behind the company, David Tran, has never trademarked the name Sriracha. That right there is an interesting comparison between this and Tabasco, some of the least aggressive trademarking compared to some of the most aggressive. It allows the other companies to make their own version of Sriracha sauce, and common sense would lead you to believe that any competitive businessman would try to stop something like that from happening, but David Tran actually embraces it. He says, "I know I cannot make enough of my product to meet the demand, so let them have it and work together for the consumer." And honestly, one of the most selfless quotes I've ever heard from a successful business owner. He's even kept the wholesale price of it unchanged since he started selling it in the 1980s. David Tran is from Vietnam. In the 1970s, he had a somewhat successful hot sauce business going on in the country, but following the Vietnam War, he fled to the United States on a Taiwanese ship and soon made a new home in Los Angeles. Soon after arriving, he realized that he couldn't find any hot sauces that he liked, and since there was such a high concentration of Southeast Asian immigrants in the area, he figured that would be the case for many of them as well. It motivated him to use his family savings to restart his hot sauce business. He called it Sriracha because that's the area in Thailand where the recipe for that type of sauce originated more than 30 years earlier. He called the company Hoi Fong because that's the name of the boat that took him to America, and he put a rooster on the label because that is his astrological sign based on the year he was born. He started selling it to Asian restaurants out of his van, making only $2,300 in his first month, but slowly gaining more business without ever paying for traditional advertising. It was all about the word of mouth and letting the product speak for itself. In 1988, he found a supplier of the red jalapeno peppers that were used to make the sauce that he continued using losing for the next 28 years. But in 2016, there were disputes and lawsuits between them that ended with Huy Fong seeking out other suppliers and losing a $23 million lawsuit against them. Much like Tabasco, it has been a family-owned private business from the very beginning, and all signs indicate that it is likely to stay that way. Okay, those were the main brands that I wanted to talk about. But when looking at the most popular hot sauces, there are two other brands that stand out to me as being unique and interesting that I think would be valuable to at least talk about briefly.
What's he got? I would have to say Texas Pete has to be one that stands out to everyone because it's super, super popular. And I wonder what he has for the second one.
This one started in 1971 in California by an ambitious businessman named Jose Luis Saavedra Sr. Previously, he had kind of a side business making hot sauce and selling it to the people he knew, mainly co-workers. When the company he worked for shut down, he took the opportunity to get more serious about his hot sauce. He leased a 750 square foot building to produce it using red peppers and got 2 part-time jobs to pay for everything. I want to point out that he was 40 years old at the time, knew very little about business, and didn't even speak English very well, but was determined enough to make Tapatio successful. Tapatio, by the way, is a term used to refer to someone from Guadalajara. He called the product that because his 3 sons were all born in Guadalajara, and that was kind of like a secret way to honor them. Again, the company has been family-owned and operated from the beginning, and his 3 sons have been heavily involved in the business. Texas Pete, a name that doesn't make any sense because it has nothing to do with Texas, nor is there anyone named Pete involved. It was actually introduced in North Carolina during the Great Depression. In short, a family with the last name of Garner was operating a barbecue stand and introduced a new cayenne-based sauce to be served there. They were advised that they should call it Mexican Joe sauce because it would make people think of the spicy food in Mexico, but they wanted it to have a more American name, so they instead switched it to Texas Pete. That barbecue place didn't last, but in the 1940s, they started a new company to produce different foods, including a line of sauces under the name Texas Pete, and that is still how they exist today. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of all these different hot sauces? I'm sure it depends on what kind of peppers you like.
That's actually insane.
Heat tolerance and a million other factors, but which ones do you like the best, and what is your reasoning behind that? I do want to point out that every hot sauce I talked about today is either owned by the family who started it or McCormick. If the demand for hot sauce does continue to grow at the rate that many are predicting it will, it'll be interesting to see if that causes any major changes.
We got to avoid the one.
Will these private companies be able to keep up with the demand? Will that leave room for other brands to emerge? Possibly some acquisitions to happen? All things I'm curious about. Also, what did you think of this video? It's a little different from what I normally do, focusing on multiple companies within one industry at a higher level rather than a more extensive overview of a single company. Let me know if there are any other topics you think would work best in this format, or if you think it works at all, and any other thoughts you have about hot sauce.
That was really good. That was really good. I enjoyed that. We learned a little bit about hot sauce today. I didn't realize it had been around for quite that long. It kind of makes sense, though, when you actually think about it. It really makes sense for it to have been around for that long. But it's just one of those things. You never really think about it. You know what I mean? Like, why would that be something that you would think about regularly? I don't know. I like hot sauce. Hope you guys do. That is all for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Come hang out with us for the next one. Yeah. Stop in, stream sometime, join the Discord so that you could also suggest some videos for me to react to. We'd love to have you. You could also meet some people to play different games with, no matter what game you enjoy. Apex, Hearthstone, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Valorant, any other game. We got people in the server who play all of them. You guys enjoy, take care, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.